He built an empire that made him one of the richest men in history. He was loved as a hero by some, feared as a monster by others. Pablo Escobar, the king of cocaine, turned Colombia into a battleground, outsmarted governments, and lived a life stranger than fiction. But was he a ruthless criminal, a generous benefactor, or both? From his rise to power to his bloody downfall, this is the wild story of Pablo Escobar, and it's more intense than you think. Buckle up. Hit that like button if you've heard of Pablo Escobar, and let's dive into his crazy story. To understand Pablo Escobar, we need to go back to the 1970s Colombia. The country was a powder keg. Poverty, corruption, and guerrilla wars created a perfect storm for someone like Escobar to rise. Born in 1949 in Rio Negro, Pablo grew up in Medellin's tough streets. He was no stranger to hustling, starting with petty crimes like stealing cars and smuggling cigarettes. By his 20s, he saw a gold mine in cocaine, a drug exploding in demand in the United States. Colombia's geography, remote jungles and coastal routes, made it ideal for trafficking. Escobar didn't just join the game. He rewrote the rules. By the late 1970s, he was building the Medellín Cartel, a ruthless operation that would control 80% of the world's cocaine trade. But Escobar wasn't just a criminal mastermind. He was charismatic, winning hearts in Medellin's slums by building houses and soccer fields. To some, he was Robin Hood. To others, a ticking time bomb. By the early 1980s, Pablo Escobar was no small-time crook. He was the kingpin of the Medellín Cartel. His operation was a well-oiled machine. Coca grown in Peru and Bolivia, processed in Colombian jungles, and smuggled to the U.S. via planes, boats, even submarines. At its peak, the cartel was making $60 million a day, and Escobar's personal wealth hit $30 billion. He lived like a rock star, with his Hacienda Nápoles estate boasting a private zoo, gold-plated bathrooms, and a go-kart track. But success came with blood. Rivals like the Cali cartel and anyone who crossed him faced brutal violence. Escobar's motto? Plata o plomo, silver or lead, meaning take a bribe or a bullet. Yet he kept Medellin's poor on his side, building schools and churches, even running for Congress in 1982. He won a seat, dreaming of legitimacy, but his past caught up. When a minister exposed his drug ties, Escobar was kicked out, and his war against the government began. By 1984, Escobar's empire was untouchable, but so was his ego. After his congressional ousting, he declared war on Colombia's government. He targeted politicians, judges, and journalists who opposed him. The 1985 siege of the Palace of Justice by M19 guerrillas, allegedly funded by Escobar, left 98 dead, including 11 Supreme Court justices. His terror campaign peaked with the 1989 bombing of Avianca Flight 203, killing 107 people, meant to eliminate a political rival. But Escobar wasn't just fighting the state. He was battling the U.S., which wanted him extradited. To avoid this, he built his own luxury prison, La Catedral, after surrendering in 1991. It had a nightclub, a soccer field, and his own guards. Escobar ran his empire from inside, proving he was untouchable. But when the government planned to move him, he escaped in 1992, sparking a nationwide manhunt. Meanwhile, his enemies, including the Cali cartel and a vigilante group called Los Pepes, struck back, targeting his allies and family. Escobar was on the run, but still deadly. Subscribe for more wild history and tell us, could Escobar have ever gone legit, or was he too far gone? By 1993, Pablo Escobar was a hunted man. The U.S. and Colombian forces, backed by the DEA and Search Bloc, closed in. Los Pepes, likely tied to the Cali cartel, were ruthless, killing Escobar's lieutenants and bombing his properties. His empire was crumbling, and his family was under threat. Hiding in Medellín, Escobar stayed one step ahead, using burner phones and loyal sicarios. But on December 2nd, 1993, his luck ran out. A phone call to his family was traced, and search block stormed his hideout. In a chaotic rooftop chase, Escobar was gunned down at age 44. Photos of his body spread worldwide, marking the end of the king of cocaine. But his death didn't end the drug trade. The Cali cartel filled the void. Colombia was scarred, with thousands dead from Escobar's violence. Yet in Medellín's slums, some mourned him as a savior. His legend lives on, glamorized in shows like Narcos, but the real story is darker and more complex. So, who was the real Pablo Escobar? To some, he was a monster who killed thousands, bombed civilians, and corrupted a nation. To others, he was a folk hero who gave hope to Medellín's poor with houses, schools, and cash. His wealth was staggering, $30 billion at its peak, enough to make him one of Forbes' richest men. But his violence was unmatched, with an estimated 4,000 deaths tied to his cartel. Escobar exposed Colombia's deep inequalities and corruption, but he also exploited them. His story raises tough questions. Can a criminal be a hero? Did his charity outweigh his crimes? And why does his name still captivate us, from Narcos to memes? Today, Colombia grapples with his shadow, as narco-culture lingers and Medellín rebuilds. Escobar's life shows the cost of unchecked power and the allure of a man who lived by his own rules. Pablo Escobar wasn't just a drug lord. He was a paradox who shaped a nation and shocked the world. His empire of cocaine, built on cunning and violence, made him a billionaire. But his war on Colombia left scars that still linger. From his lavish hacienda to his bloody end on a Medellín rooftop, Escobar's story is a warning about power, greed, and the thin line between hero and monster. Thanks for watching this deep dive into history. If you loved it, check out our video on e.g. The Fall of the Cali Cartel or The Rise of El Chapo, linked below. Like, comment, and subscribe to keep these wild stories alive, and let's honor the truth behind the legend. Comment your favorite Escobar moment and share this video with a true crime fan. Let's hit 100 likes for the king of cocaine.